I apologize in advance for the wind noise. I was hoping to shoot this video on a day when the weather was a little bit nicer, but it's not looking like it's going to improve by the end of this week, so I figure I might as well shoot it now. I also apologize for starting the year off on a somber note. Yet again, this will be the second year in a row, but the last year and a half have just been devastating for our family. I lost both of my grandfathers just a little over a year ago now, and just 2 weeks ago, I lost my uncle after a short battle with COVID. It's been devastating for all of us. I've lost three of my lifelong best friends within the course of about a year and a half, and just been kind of beside myself. But nonetheless, I'm here to make this video for you guys. By the time you see this video, it will be January 29th, which would have been my uncle's 64th birthday. So I'd like to dedicate this video to him. So Uncle Sam, this one's for you. So I made a few videos of this truck in the past, just kind of riding around in it over the years, but I realized I never really did a full in-depth review of it. So this is my uncle's 2007 Peterbilt 357 tri-axle dump truck. He made his living with this truck for many, many years, and he ran his own dump trucking business for about 25 years here locally. And he owned about 5 different trucks over the years. This is obviously his newest and his last one. But anyway, to give you guys a little history on the truck, my uncle bought this truck brand new from the Pete store down in Baltimore, Maryland in late 2006. And it replaced a 2006 Peterbilt 379. He only ran that truck for about a year. It had a C15 Acert twin-turbo Caterpillar engine in it, and he was always a Caterpillar guy, but that C15 Acert just drank fuel, and for running locally, it was just not ideal for him, so he sold it, and he ended up buying this 357 with a Cummins instead. I'll get into more detail on that in a little bit. So like I said, he bought this truck in late 2006, and according to the salesman, this truck was built just 2 weeks before the 2007 EPA regulations came into effect, which required manufacturers to start using the diesel particulate filters, or DPFs. So from what we've been told, this is actually one of the very last 357, or one of the last Peterbilts to leave the factory without a DPF system, which is kind of interesting. This is a 357, which falls in the same family as the 379 and 378. The 357 is basically just a heavy spec version of the 378. So, I mean, they're from a distance, you really can't even tell them apart. This particular truck has the Vocational heavy haul package, which is kind of unique. I mean, I wouldn't call it rare, but I wouldn't call it common either. One of the defining features of the heavy haul package is that it has what they call the high hood, as you can see here. This truck has a setback front axle, and it has the large fiberglass hood. I believe the total bumper to back of cab length is 119 inches, which would be the same as like a short hood or standard hood 379. But this hood is kind of unique because you just don't see many trucks with this particular hood. It's a typical setback axle 357 or 378 hood would have kind of a slant to it, but this one sticks out much higher and longer. It has a little bit of a curve to it, which is kind of neat. It's just one of the defining features of the heavy haul package, or as I like to call it, the high hood package. And from what the salesman told him, there were very few trucks running around with this setup, 357s anyway. This particular package was only offered on the 2005 to 2007 357s and 378s, I believe, and then they switched to the 367 in 2007. And they carried this particular hood design over as an option for the 367s as well, but you just don't see them very often. So that's one of the unique things about this truck, which is kind of cool. Like I said, being a tri-axle dump truck, it's spec'd for heavy hauling, so it's got all the bells and whistles for a heavy hauler. This particular hood was designed for trucks that have a front power takeoff, but obviously this truck does not have that. And another defining feature of the fiberglass Peterbilt hoods is that they have the huck rivets installed in the cowling instead of on the hood itself. Like typically on a 379, there would be a line of huck rivets going across the side there, but the 357 and 378 don't have that. So that's just another unique little characteristic about these trucks. But enough talking about the hood. I'm sure you guys want to see what's under the hood. So let me get it open here real quick. This truck has a 565 horsepower Cummins ISX 15 engine in it, and I realize this is a lot newer than some of the other trucks I posted on my channel. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably cringing at this engine, but rest assured, this is in my opinion, one of the last good engines that were made for these trucks. Like I said, this truck was built right before the EPA regulations went into effect for 2007, so this is one of the last pre-DPF engines. It does have an EGR system, but overall this engine has been pretty good for my uncle, because he doesn't like to run junk. He was always very picky about running good quality equipment, and he was a Caterpillar guy for many years, so it took a lot for him to switch from Cat to Cummins, but he's had very good luck with it. This is the CM870 model number. I believe the CM871 was the one that was known as the problem child. The CM871 was the first one to have the DPF and all that stuff. But like I said, this is just before that. It's been a pretty good engine. Like I said, it's 565 horsepower, 912 cubic inch straight six, obviously. And like I said, it's a lot newer than I'm used to. Given the choice, I would rather have an old mechanical. But it's nice to have some variety, especially on my YouTube channel here. And I'm learning, I'm learning about these newer electronic engines as I go. So it's been a pretty good running engine. At the time, I believe 565 horse was the highest horsepower you could set these up for in a truck. And it's definitely more horsepower than you need for a dump truck, but nonetheless, I mean, the more power, the better, right? This engine is mated to an Eaton Fuller 18-speed transmission with double overdrive. I believe it's rated for 2,290 foot-pounds of torque, which would make it a 229/18 transmission, but I have to double-check that. All I know is it was the heaviest 18-speed transmission available when he ordered the truck. He basically put the beefiest powertrain in this truck that he could. So it's got the Cummins ISX 15, 18-speed transmission, and it has Eaton 390 rears in it, so it's actually geared pretty high, especially for a dump truck. But if you live around this area, you've probably seen this truck, and you know that this truck could haul ass. I mean, no joke about it. My uncle did not play around when it came to getting work done. If he had a lot of work to do in a day, he would be flying in this truck. So it's geared pretty tall. It's got some long legs. He just recently installed 8 brand new Bridgestone drive tires on it. I believe they're 24.5s. Yeah, 11R 24.5s. It also rides on Peterbilt air track suspension, which I believe is a combination of airbag and spring ride. It's honestly, for a dump truck, it is pretty comfortable. I can't complain. I've rode in worse, as I'm sure many of us have. It also has a Hendrickson steerable lift axle to help with the extra weight. That's the most common configuration you see around here in our neck of the woods. I know some parts of the country run quad axles. Some, like out in Michigan, they run a bunch of axles on the trailer, but around here the tri-axle configuration is most common. Obviously, it also has dual fuel tanks. The tank on the passenger side here is a 50-gallon. The tank on the driver's side is a 100-gallon, if I remember correctly. And the truck is also double framed, as you can probably imagine. It's double framed all the way up to the front. Usually, from what I understand, Peterbilt only double frames these trucks up to the cab, but my uncle told him to just double frame it the entire way up. I mean, why not? The heavier the better. You can also see it's got the heavy-duty leaf springs on the front axle as well. So, as I said before, my uncle came from a 379 to this 357, and when he ordered this truck, he wanted one with the setback front axle to help shorten the turning radius a little bit, because if you know Peterbilts, the 379s are not known for tight turns. So the setback axle really helps for that. This truck has a Benson Manufacturing 16.5 foot long high tensile steel dump body, which at the time was the heaviest duty body you could order for one of these trucks. And my uncle loved the color red, so he ordered the truck Viper red, and then he had the dump body painted to match. And the dump body was installed before the truck was delivered to him. So it's been with this thing ever since it was new. So sticks out like a sore thumb, that's for sure. But my uncle always kept this truck clean. It was his pride and joy. This is actually the dirtiest I've seen it in quite a while, believe it or not. I really got to take this thing out and give it a bath. But I'll get to that when the weather gets a little bit warmer. So, enough chit-chat. Why don't we climb up in the cab? I'll show you around the cab and we'll get her fired up. So we're up here in the cab. Just give you a quick look at the interior. This truck has 447,000 miles, and it spent most of its life running local. And the rule of thumb with a tri-axle like this is you want to double the miles, and that will give you the true wear and tear. So 447,000 miles is roughly the equivalent of about 900,000 miles on a road tractor. So this truck's definitely seen some wear and tear over the last 13 or 14 years. It may be due for an in-frame rebuild here soon, but the engine uses no oil at all. It doesn't have any blow-by, and it still runs pretty strong, so I think we might just run it for a little bit. But I'll give you a good look at the interior here. It's got the full gauge package. My uncle was never a fan of the navigation system, so it doesn't have the touchscreen or any of that, but it's got all the gauges. It's got all the rocker switches, as you can see here. I spent a lot of miles riding in that passenger seat, that's for sure. Not just this truck, but the Peterbilt he had before this one, and then the Ford that he had before that. So some of the best memories I have of my childhood were riding in the cab of his truck with him. You can see he's got his Cobra CB radio there. Like I said, this has the 18-speed transmission, the heavy-duty 18-speed, which is kind of nice because you don't have to follow any specific shift pattern. You can kind of just split any gear you want. So without further ado, why don't we get this thing fired up? I got the key in it here. Let me just make sure we're in neutral. Coming up on 17,000 hours. A lot of that is idle time though. So we'll just let her run here for a couple minutes and build up some air, charge the batteries up. It's not a big cam 400 or a 3406B, but it sure runs good. Like I said, this truck's got almost 450,000 miles on it, which means about 900,000 miles worth of wear and tear, but the engine still runs like new. It's got no blow-by and it still makes good power, so I'll probably run it around here for a little bit, and I don't know, maybe when it comes time to do an in-frame, I'll swap it out for a 3406E or a C15 or something. But I think that red engine looks good inside that red truck. Just let her run for a few minutes here and build up some air. Give you a good walk around here. He just installed the brand new tarp as well. I mean, brand new. I don't even think it's ever been used. He just put it on right before he passed away, actually. He also installed a new lift cylinder as well, as you can see. Alright, so she's pretty warm now and finally got some air built up, so let's back her out of here so I can dump the water out of the bed. The problem with backing out of here is you got to watch and make sure there aren't any cars coming down the lane here. Having the tall trees doesn't really help either. Alright, so let's get the water dumped out of the bed. I have to remember how to do this. So first thing you do is put it in gear, turn the PTO on, let the clutch out, take it out of gear, and then with the PTO turned on, raise her all the way up and let the water drop out of it. Then turn the PTO off. I forgot, have to turn the high idle on too. See the brand new lift cylinder in action. And like I said, she's double framed all the way up. We'll just let the water drain out of it. Sure has a nice exhaust note too. So anyway guys, there you have it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sorry to start the year off on a somber note yet again, but you know, I figured this would be a good tribute to my uncle, and I hope that with any luck I can keep this truck running and keep it clean like he always did, and I hope to make him proud. It's been very tough for our family the past year and a half, and you know, talk about adding insult to injury, but at least we still have his dump truck to keep his memory alive. Because everybody in the area knows how well my uncle took care of his dump truck. He always kept it clean and shiny. And his friends always used to joke on the CB radio that he never actually worked because the truck was always spotless. But he was a hard worker, that's for sure. This truck's, you know, got quite a history around here. So, I don't know, like I said, I'm going to do my best to keep it maintained and keep it clean. And come spring, who knows? I mean, maybe I'll be out running the roads with it, hauling a little dirt myself. We'll see. So, anyway guys, hope you enjoyed the video. please feel free to comment, rate, and subscribe. And as always, stay tuned for more.